Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Quranic Lessons for the infidel being myself, of course. I have, as usual, Buraz is my tutor on the Quran. We have another guest who'll be popping in shortly. There he is. Hello, Saeed. We are online now.
Hey,
Welcome back. And Buraz, if you want to, do you want to pick up or start this thing off?
I could, unless Said has something to say off the bat.
Do you,
yes,
Saeed?
I watched your article. You didn't know that you didn't understand the part about Qadr, about Surah Al-Qadr. It is talking about Night of Glory in your article. It is actually one day, one night in Ramadan when this is the best night in the year according to Islam.
Talk about
And
Ramadan.
yes,
He's talking about Ramadan, yes.
I
But
feel,
Qadr.
we will get to that. Why?
It
I,
is
I'm
the most
embarrassed.
significant night.
I'm embarrassed that that didn't make any sense to me. There was quite a lot that didn't make any sense to me this time around.
Well, yes.
I'm
I mean,
I'm
if
not
you
surprised.
if you weren't previously indoctrinated, if you didn't fast Ramadan, you really can't know this stuff. So it's not really embarrassing. I mean, it is the most significant or the most important night in Islamic calendar, when, as it says here, that we send it down in the night of glory. That's when allegedly revelation of Quran started to prophet. So, like you got multiplied for literally everything you do, for prayers, for dhikr, or literally everything.
Now, I'm going to have
I
to take
think I think there is one hadith which says that night qadr will help the most people to escape from hellfire.
And how does that happen?
Well, an example, you pray that night tajahud, which is night prayer, and God will forgive you. Like uh, as I said, everything will be multiplied.
Okay. Uh, and we'll just leave alone for the moment that God is supposed to know everything you're going to do, and God is the reason that you do everything that you're going to do. So if you pray to God, it's because God made you pray. So of
Well, yeah,
course He already knows what you're praying
it
for.
doesn't make
Did,
that much sense though.
did you do anything on
Right.
any of the nights that you did whatever you thought you were doing, what actually the puppeteer was moving his fingers?
So it seems. So it seems. All right. So Bogey, what did you have?
Oh, I had a lot. I had a lot. So, Surah 80, which is Abasa. Um, some notes about it, and not particularly significant. Verse 17 is kind of an interesting language here. It basically says, "Killed is the human who didn't believe," and it uses the word "killed." Like it didn't use the word destroyed, but it uses the word killed. We know that the Quran knows the word destroyed and uses it amply and everywhere else, but here specifically says the infidel is killed specifically. So it's just something that's worth mentioning that it is uses this language even here. This is not a legislative verse, but it alludes to the ones that will come after it that will say you killed the infidels.
And which verse has this line in it?
This is verse 17, Surah 80.
Okay, let me just pull that up because I think my verse 17.
Yes.
Mine reads, "Woe to man, how ungrateful he is."
Um, Surah 80, verse 17. Oh, am I misreading this? I
It
am.
says, "Cursed is
17.
man."
17. Sorry. It says, yes, it says cursed is man, but it uses the word qutila in the
Okay,
Yeah.
so
past tense.
so
It actually,
where I'm reading "woe to man" in your translation it says "killed is man."
killed is the man who did not believe. Yes.
In my translation, it says, "Cursed is the man, how disbelieving is he." So he's
Yes,
international.
I don't use the translation though.
Right.
Well, it would help me.
So right here, even my translation, it says is destroyed, but I'm reading it with qutila. I was going like, sure, it would destroy him, but that's a killing.
Well,
You
you at
know?
least have to use a few different translations in order to understand just something.
Yeah, but surah later it says وَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ فَسَوَّاهَا. Right? So he's perfectly capable of saying destroyed in any other way, right?
And just to make sure, Saeed, you speak Arabic, right?
No, I don't speak. I could read it some time ago,
Okay.
but I don't understand like the majority of text.
All
Mhm.
right. Well, Baraz telling us that neither of us are going to understand it in Arabic. So I'm sorry.
You could learn Arabic. It's easy.
Yeah, I'll rely on my wife. She was trained to speak Arabic.
I
Okay.
don't think it's really easy, but okay.
Yes.
But that
Don't.
is true. My wife actually was trained to speak Arabic. So
That's awesome.
on occasion, I'll drag her into this.
You probably should.
I should have this time because there was so
Yeah.
much I didn't get this time around.
She might not be able to help you with the background and the reference stuff,
I don't see how she
but the
could.
language, with the language, she probably could.
Yeah. All right. So what else
So,
you got?
verse 19, same surah. And this is something that you probably might have experienced from Muslims who, how does the embryo form, yada yada yada. This is one of the verses that talks to that. And it says Surah 19 created from a drop of sperm. Okay?
Okay. So does
Nutfa.
that mean that the first people are created from a
No,
droplet? I mean,
every
No.
person.
so God does not create ex nihilo. He creates out of something.
People.
Well, first Adam was created from dust or from clay. Depends what you read. Then after Adam, everybody is according to sources created from seed, from semen.
Okay.
But Adam was the first man created from clay.
Yeah. So the actual word in verse 19 is semen.
Yeah.
It's not the amorph liquid that you're using in your translation.
Yeah. It's nutfa.
Yes. So that's, you don't, well.
And I think it's amusing that it's God that's doing this, not DNA.
And that the woman does not contribute anything to that. just to add the other 50% of what's missing. Yes. So basically the claim that the creation of a human being starts and is done via that. But this is not generally used verse for this. There is a whole surah about this, but we will come to it later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are more to embryology.
Yeah. I see you had some problems with verses 24 to 32.
Let's see, that was 24 to 32. Hold on.
24.
Yeah, I'm not understanding the thing about everything that we have, I mean, all the food doesn't grow. The food is brought by angels, so to speak, or is made to grow by angels. Again, it's not DNA.
Yeah.
It's all miracles.
Yes, but the we is not the angels. It's a royal we.
Yes, it's we. In Arabic, you have royal we, which is, for example, when it uses we, it is about Allah, actually, about God. For example, It says, "We made it. We pour down." It's all God. God pour down. God caused it to split open, soil split open. God make grain grow. Everything. It's royal we. It's used in
Okay, so
Arabic.
this is not Gabriel talking about the angels.
Yes, no. This
No.
is Allah talking about himself in the plural.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you correct me on that.
Yeah, because I've seen that throwing you off multiple times already. Like the Quran uses the royal we almost always. So it's Allah who's doing this stuff, and the angels and the demons and everybody else just obeys him. Right? So they're not doing the doing.
They're not doing the doing.
Yes.
Okay, so then this does come down to we are just supposed to be thankful for God for everything.
Or perish in hellfire badly.
Of course.
Rather badly. And that's basically the recap of the surah at the end. Yes, atheists will suffer a lot, for sure. For sure.
Okay, so what else? We're still on 80 and jumping, let's say, to, unless you had something more, jumping to verse 33.
We're done with 33 and we're done with 80.
Okay.
At least in my notes.
I got a question about 33 though. When the deafening blast comes. So what is the Muslim interpretation of this day? I mean, why is there a deafening blast?
There are several names for the last day or the day of apocalypse, I guess. And this is one of them, al-Saha, which is translated as a deafening noise, blah, blah. This sky will rip open and stuff will fly around. You know, the works. So basically 33 says, and when that day comes, and you were thinking about it as a deafening noise, he's just referring as a name for it. Like we also talked about how many names or how many fires and levels of fire there are. And the Quran uses them liberally everywhere, right? With different names. It doesn't mean it may carry a specific meaning, like in this case of Saha, for apocalypse, right? But it has several other names. It's not specifically a thundering noise in this particular case.
So there are some people who are saved, and this is like a rapture, right? So I mean, there are some people who are being saved, and they're watching everybody else being, I don't know, drowned or consumed. Or
yes, disbelievers be destroyed.
Yeah, and so we're just supposed to piss on the disbelievers. We're just supposed to hate them.
There's nothing to do at that point.
Yes, you'll just be able to watch.
Yeah,
you can do. It says on that day, you without authority, you can't move or you can't say a word without authority from God.
Well, you can
God
laugh.
won't allow you.
You can laugh and you can rejoice. Oh, look, our neighbors are all drowning. Ha ha.
Yes.
I want to mention something. There is one hadith actually that talks about that. An example, it says in one hadith that all people will be joined together on that day, and they will be naked. And Prophet 5, Aisha asked him, "But Prophet, they are going to be naked. How?" Because no, it's haram to be naked like in public. And he told her, like, you are thinking with brain from this world. At that day, you won't even bother to watch or to what's happening around. You'll be so, like, it is going to be pretty bad. That's what he wanted to say. But we even can't comprehend what is going to be that day. Example, you won't watch at naked people. You will be just. It is going to be like apocalypse. That was his point.
Okay.
Yes. So right, 34. 34, 35, 36 are actually explained in 37. These people run away from each other, don't care about their relatives and friends and everything else because of 37. 37 says everyone will have his own business that keeps him busy on that day.
Yes, it says also that a son won't care about his mother or brother or sister on that day.
Okay. All right. So it also says that people are going to be laughing and rejoicing. So that seems a contradiction to me.
Well, they will be laughing and rejoicing because they believed. So they know their deal is going to be good on that day. Okay.
I'm just having a problem wrapping my head around this because we were talking about people who want to make believe, who want to pretend something so very bad, and they can only threaten other people because they don't have any reason to convince other people. The only thing that they can do is say, "Well, you have to believe what I believe, or you'll be sorry." And then there's this time limit. You better believe while you're still alive. You better believe along with me in this life, and give me credence for the lies that I'm telling as if they're all true, because you're afraid to think that they're not true, because all these terrible things are going to happen to people just because they don't believe. And then we can laugh at the people who don't believe, who are now being torn apart or burned up or whatever. Ha ha ha! He's burning up because he was too smart to be fooled by lies with no reason. That's where I'm coming from with this. It's very frustrating for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you're seated.
I agree.
All right, moving on. And I guess we don't need to comment on that again today.
Yeah, I think 80 is exhausted at this point.
All right, so what do you got on the next one?
97. Said?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it's Al-Qadr, the most significant night in the whole year, according to Islamic sources and Islamic calendar. There is like, they asked Prophet which night is going to be Al-Qadr, and he said, one of his Sahaba, one of his disciples said, I know which night is this. He said, Wallahi, it's 27th night. But there is no hadith which says exactly which night is this. We only know it's either 25th, 27th, or 29th. That's all we know about it. And we know that this night, Angel Gabriel is coming to our closest heaven. We'll have multiplied good deeds. God will forgive people. The most of people will escape hellfire because of that night. That's all about it.
So this is an annual holiday.
Well,
not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite, but it's the most significant night in the whole year. The most important one, surely.
It's not. You said this is Ramadan, right? That is an annual holiday, right?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Not yet. Ramadan.
Did somebody figure out what night that holiday is going to be on?
Because this is Surah 97. We don't know about Ramadan yet.
Okay.
We don't know about fasting in Ramadan yet.
I'm sorry, I didn't read the spoilers.
Right. So that comes later when we start fasting during Ramadan.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get.
This is a particular night that happens to be in the month of Ramadan.
Yes.
But let's look at what the Quran says, though.
It's the first time when Muhammad got revelation.
Okay.
Okay, so verse 1 basically says Allah claims he delivered the Quran in that one holy night. Okay, that's the main claim to glory for this night.
Okay.
The Quran being kept in a tablet, which we'll come to that later, is being delivered to Gabriel in that night. The whole thing. And then Gabriel told Muhammad one surah and a few verses at a time. Okay?
Okay, following.
This is mechanism. The word qadr that the Quran uses, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. The word qadr is actually destiny. It means destiny. So who translates it as the night of destiny is probably the most accurate here. The word qadr means destiny. Okay?
Thank you.
So qadr is one of 6 pillars of Iman, of faith, and it means destiny.
Yeah. Verse number 2 says, what do you know what the night of destiny is? Lol. Like, what do you know? Nothing. It's just going to tell you everything right now. So the definition of what this means comes after this. the angel and the Holy Ghost, or just spirits? I don't know.
Okay, so and this is separate from God, which is a little confusing.
Right,
The
right.
Spirit
The
descends again and
angel,
again with the Lord's permission. So
yeah.
what is the difference between
I
the
think
Spirit?
that in this instance, I think that spirit is actually Angel Gabriel, and angels probably are all other angels. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's what should be.
Okay,
Yes.
That
So
angels and the spirit descend again and again with their Lord's permission on every task.
yes, which this is verse 4 actually. I'm sorry, my notes are wrong. Verse 4 says, "In this night, the angels, because it's a plural malaika, right? Wal ruh, which is
Yes,
single for soul.
yeah. And also, I
Okay,
think that Gabriel was known as Ruh.
Gabriel is known for ruh, but then we're talking about something that is it the Holy Spirit we're talking about here?
Well,
Because that's also singular.
I'm not sure what's their standpoint on Holy Spirit in Islam. I think when you mention Holy Spirit, they'll mention Angel Gabriel.
Right. So, but the word ruh here is singular, which
Yeah,
is
I
troubling.
get it.
Which is troubling. Is he talking about a specific spirit, or is he talking about a generic spirit that encompasses all spirits?
I see your point. I'm going to see on tafsir on exegesis what they say.
Yeah. And those angels and spirits are acting with the permission of Allah. And they can intercess in every affair. This is verse 4, by the way. I haven't finished yet. So intercessory prayer is 30,000 times more powerful on this night, because all of these guys are listening and are free to act by the permission of Allah on this night, on your request.
I found what scholars said. They say
Yes.
regarding this verse, the angels and the spirit, namely Gabriel, that's what the Jalalain said in his tafsir. Spirit, namely Gabriel, the sent Tanzalahu, one of the two original Ta letters of Tanzalahu, has been omitted in it on that night by the leave of their Lord, by his command, with every command that God has decreed from that year to the following 1 to 1 min is causative functioning as be with. That's
Okay.
what. So
All
yes,
right.
I think spirit is Gabriel in this one.
Yeah, because Islam is quite a verse about the Holy Spirit concept and the Holy Trinity, so they definitely wouldn't go there.
Yes,
Right?
I think that Prophet actually he was mistaken when it comes to Trinity. He thought it was Mary, Jesus, and God and Father, not actually Holy Spirit. But we can talk about that later.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
I agree with Saeed. I mean, it would seem that if you're making reference to the Spirit,
yeah.
that it would have to be talking about Gabriel in this case. I don't see.
Yeah.
What do I know, right? I mean, you're teaching
Wait,
me, but
well,
that's what makes sense.
yeah, it is verse 2. It says, "What do you know?" So, I'm just bringing these approximations here
By the
to.
way, I would just like to mention something. I think that
Mhm.
Aaron's translation is actually better. It says, "What will explain to you what that night of glory is." So it's kind of makes more sense than your translation actually.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going more literal than the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
verses, because
no problem.
it kind of brings a little bit of a swing to it.
Yeah.
So, here's some commentary. The night of destiny is though to be in the last 10 days, is thought to be in the last 10 days of Ramadan. Prayer in that value is valued as 1,000 months worth of prayer and good deeds. Muslim in general super pray during the last 10 days of Ramadan. They
Well, I'm
really,
glad you
really,
clarified what that night is like 1,000 months,
a thousand
because
months.
Yeah.
that just tells me that it's a really long time.
Yes.
What good is it to have a night that's worth that is like 1,000 months? How is that good?
Yes.
So yeah,
So
No,
it's
I
like
think
as yeah.
the point here is that that if you prayed that night is the same like if you prayed every night for 1,000 months. That's what
Yeah.
they wanted to say.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's why this night is so significant and so important.
Yes.
Okay.
So
And you'd think that, God writing this book probably could have spelled that out.
yeah, I mean, it's like he's running out of ink or something.
Okay.
And Muslims in these days are practically prohibited from engaging in any hostilities, and that's because of verse 5. Verse 5 says, "This night is peace." Peace, with the correct understanding of peace.
If you could tell which night it is.
If you could tell which night it
Yeah.
is. So because it's in the last 10 days of Ramadan, Muslims generally abstain from any hostilities during those days
Okay.
because they don't
I
know which night it is.
I used to attend lectures, and one imam actually said that why he didn't exactly tell us which night is this, and he said that there is a very special reason. That reason is that, an example, he wanted us to be to be like faithful, to pray and to do all that stuff, all 10 last days. That's why. So to get better price, that's the point. Why is that night actually secret? We don't know for sure. Is it 27th night or 28th, 29th night or 25th night? All we know it's in the last 10 days of Ramadan.
Yeah, Allah wants you to pray more, and He's going to reward you for one of those nights. Really good.
Yeah, that's all.
All right. Are we done with what was it, 97?
97, just one final note is
Yes.
like it's a note that Ramadan and fasting and all that institutionalized stuff is not known to Muslims when these verses are being promulgated to them. So at this point, we do not have a fast during Ramadan order in the
By the way,
Quran.
I have one note. It's
Yes.
actually not, it does not have to do much with this surah in particular, but there is one
Mhm.
hadith which says that Lord or God descended to our to lowest heaven every last third part of night. And I think that there lies one pretty big scientific error. An example, if God is descending to our lowest heaven every third part of night, and we know that the earth isn't flat, and that last third part of night is constant, is literally always at some point on earth, that would imply that God is either always under the at the lowest heaven, but that's not the case, and it says that he descended only in the last part. So what I think is that Muhammad thought that when sun sets, night is at the all places. He probably wasn't aware of America and of other places.
Well, I'm pretty
That was
sure he
one.
wasn't aware of time zones either.
Yes, that was one problematic thing when I was a believer. I really couldn't reconcile that with geospherical Earth.
Yeah, you can't reconcile it because it has no idea about what happens to the daylight hours and the nighttime hours in the northern territories.
think about it. Think about it.
It's
If if an example, God is descending to lowest heaven, last third part, and we know that at some point at our Earth, always is the last third part of night. So God is either always at lowest heaven, or he didn't know that there there is more land on the other side
he
of Earth.
probably didn't know, honestly.
Yeah,
Probably just
I think
didn't
so.
freaking know.
And I think that when I try to escape this, when I try to ask like people of knowledge, how they call them imams, when I ask them about this, they didn't really have any explanation. And even now, an example on one side, they say, well, God can do everything, and that was their justification.
Yeah, but that's a non-explanation explanation.
Yeah,
Like God
it's
can do
not an
everything.
argument. Yeah,
Thanos. There you go.
So,
Okay, we can move to 91 if everybody's okay.
yeah.
yeah.
Before we start talking about more spoilers
Yes.
on
Oh,
Thanos.
well, that's not a spoiler. He already did that.
All right.
Yes.
So, Surah
91.
91, the sun. And I had a hard time understanding this too. So please.
Okay, I'll break this down for you. Verses 1 to 5 are swearing. Not the bad word swearing, but the solemn swearing.
Yeah.
Allah is swearing, and here's the weird stuff about it. He's swearing upon his creation, which is the sky, what's between the sky, the night, the day, the sun, and the moon, which he had claimed to have created, right? So he swears by them. He swears by them until verses 11 and calls the people of Thamud liars. Okay, so Allah swears by all of these 10 verses that the people at verse 11 are lying.
By the way, I have one note on verse 7.
Yes.
Have you seen that? And by the earth and how he spread it. Actually, on Arabic, word is sutihat, and I think that is pretty good, like good way to explain flat Earth. An example: there are Arabs flat earthers now in the 21st century, and they use this verse as justification for Earth being flat.
Yes.
But those who don't, they say, well, it's a metaphor, no, something like that.
Well,
what does that word mean?
Or so waha, that means flattened it.
To flatten it, yes.
Yeah.
I think there are many instances where it says he spread it to earth. We aren't sure about that exactly what it means. I mean, how he spread it. Like when he spread pizza, how exactly? I mean, I never understood that.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about the earth being spread out, and they talk about it being like a map. And the Bible describes something similar, where the earth is basically a table on columns. It's a circular table standing on these columns, and then you spread out the map of the earth, and it's divided into 4 quadrants, which is sometimes mistranslated as corners, so that you have the north, south, east, west. And elsewhere, we haven't gotten to this part yet, or at least my series hasn't gotten to this part yet. God uses mountains as placeholders to hold the map of the flat earth in place.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
The word he uses here is wama tahaha. Tahaha. Okay. He spread it like a pizza dough.
Yeah. I really think sincerely that he believed that the earth is flat.
Is it?
I mean, there is no, that he believed that the earth is flat.
Well,
Muhammad.
Yeah, it looks like he did understand it.
Also, the second verse says, "And by the moon as it follows it."
Yeah.
I think that can be vague. An example, it can be vague that when we see moon after the sun, but it can also mean that moon is literally following the sun.
He apparently wasn't aware of eclipses either.
He was terrified by eclipses.
Yeah.
I recently read one in Muhammad ibn Jarir Tabari's work in History of Tabari. That I'm not sure how authentic the story is, but he said that when we see eclipses, there are like angels are literally holding the sun, and every once in a while they drop sun in some kind of lake, and that's why we on the sky, and that's why we see eclipse. Muslims widely reject that authenticity of that word, but I'm not sure they don't have actually good reason for that.
But I can't wait till I get to that part.
Yeah. Yeah, Muslims have a special prayer for eclipses.
I mean, he was like terrified. An example, Allah, they said that is sign of God, sign. I mean, why would the eclipse be sign if you didn't know what it is?
Yeah.
You got me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we spread the earth like you do for the pizza dough.
And I would also like to mention
and then
something.
You put the toppings on and the cheese.
By the sky and how he built it. Aaron, you mentioned it in your article, and you talk also about biblical, how Bible describes it. I also think that it is the case with the Qur'an that they also believe that the sky was like solid. For example, by the sky and how he built it. It is kind of strange.
The
Yeah, if you
building
don't
word
have,
does carry that, yeah.
there are also verses which say that God protects the sky from falling on earth. I mean, how can that be the case if sky isn't solid? Do you know that verse? What? What?
I'm
It
sorry,
is.
what?
There is verse in the Quran which says that God protects us from sky. So if God didn't hold the sky, that sky would fall on earth.
Yeah,
That's what one verse says.
And
yeah,
he
it
sent
would
the
carry.
messenger to warn us that the sky was falling, and the messenger's name was Chicken Little.
Peace be upon him. So where are we? It says 1 to 10 are swearing, 11 Samud lied because they lied. Haha. They lied about the religion. Remember
Have
lying
we,
about
Aaron?
religion verse?
Okay.
Have we
met-
mentioned Thamud before? I think we did.
Yeah,
We did.
I was about to ask about that. I remember the name coming up, but I don't remember what it was.
I don't know either, and I don't think a lot of people do.
I
What
think
site?
that Thamud was nation.
Yeah, well,
They
it's
they
a
got their
nation.
yes. They called their prophet liar, and then awful stuff happened to them.
Yes. So Allah sent them a prophet because that's what Allah does, right? And he said, the prophet said, prophet, we do not know who he is, doesn't name him, so we don't know. And that makes finding Mr. Thamud a lot more difficult here. Told them, this is Allah's camel. Pointed at the camel, that camel is Allah's camel. You have
No,
to.
this is actually Muhammad's camel.
No,
right?
no. Muhammad has nothing to do with this.
No. It was
Okay.
before Muhammad.
This is before Muhammad. This is a non-name. This is an anonymous prophet sent to Thamud people because they were diverging from religion. And that prophet told them that this is Allah's orders. That camel is to be fed and watered and not eaten. Guess what they did?
Well, according to the storybook, it says that they hamstrung the camel so that it would die a slow and agonizing.
By the way, I think that Quran does talk about prophet of Thamud nation.
Separately later on, but now we don't know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually Salih. Prophet
Is
Salih.
it? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So Thamud called their prophet liar, because why wouldn't you? Killed the camel and ate it, of course. So Allah destroyed them for their sin and leveled the plain that they lived in.
So Tammuz was leveled.
Yeah, God destroyed
Yes,
them.
they got leveled. That's the word. And
we don't know, does the Talmuda have another name? I mean, because you mentioned Buraz, that the one time that the Quran mentions Mecca, that it misspelled Mecca.
yes, and that's what the weird is about it. Doesn't misspell Thamud.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, why that? Why not Mecca? I mean, it's not difficult to spell. But there you go. So verse 15 is, God doesn't even care about them. Does not care. He just leveled them because they're so bad they ate the camel.
I mean, pay attention to reasoning behind it. They had to believe that this particular person was the prophet of God because he told them that this is camel of God. And then God destroyed them because they didn't believe. I mean, why would somebody believe that? Can you imagine somebody now coming and saying this is the cow of God, and you're supposed to believe that that person is prophet? I think
you end up like Thamud, if you don't believe.
I'll be leveled.
You will be paper thin, man.
Yeah, I guess.
So, do we have anything more to comment on that? Because I've got some questions about the next surah too.
It's good. It's good.
All right,
we can go to 85.
85. Al-Buruj.
Yes.
And that is the Towering Constellations. And is that actually about constellations?
This is again swearing, just
Okay.
like the previous verse. And the sky with the constellations.
So this is
I
God.
swear
This is
upon the
God.
sky. This
This is
is,
God
guys,
swearing on the sky. Well, why does God have to swear? Why does God have to say by the moon? What does that even mean?
I'm
You know?
not God. I don't know why he does it. Anyways,
I mean, I used, as I said, I used to attend lectures, and I think they said that when God swears by something, that He wants to tell us something really significant and something special, something, and in this case, that's Judgment Day.
yeah. Well, I mean,
God,
God, what can't he just swear upon himself? I mean, he's God after all.
well, yeah, does not make that much sense. I see your point, but that's what that's what they say.
I mean, he could have just said, Wallahi, Wallahi, right? He doesn't. He's Allah. Like, what the heck he's swearing for?
I mean, it would be kind of illogical to swear by for
What?
God to swear
Right
wallahi.
now, I made this and I made this, and now I'm swearing by them. Okay, whatever. I mean, he's swearing.
God created universe to swear by them.
Yes, he needed something to swear by,
Yeah,
which doesn't make him all powerful now, does it?
Yeah. Well,
And yeah, and verse 2, he's swearing by the apocalypse. The promised day is the apocalypse. The promised days are he's promising to destroy the world by the apocalypse day.
and
And
then verse
the witness and what they witnessed, yes.
verse 10, for those who persecute believing men and women and do not repent afterwards, there will be a torment of hell and burning.
Yep. Yeah.
It's
They
just the
will
same
burn
message
by
over and over again.
yeah. Yeah. This needs to be settled in. You
I think
don't believe, you get burned badly.
God God could mention so many different things if He didn't go to repeat Himself over and over that people will stay in hell forever. I mean, He could tell us something about evolution or about theory of relativity, but He didn't. Obviously, he used all the space just to repeat that people will stay in hell forever. How convenient.
Yeah,
Yes.
that does seem to be the only message that's being constantly repeated.
Yeah. One slight note here on verse 15, he describes himself. Now, verse 14, he also describes himself as merciful and loving. Did you feel
Yeah.
the mercy and the love, Aaron?
Yes, of all of the
Yeah.
extortion, all of the threats.
That's mercy and love now. Come on.
Yeah.
I think the
Now,
biggest, but definitely the biggest contradiction in Islam as a whole is the most merciful God and infinite, eternal hell. It's not that infinite hell cannot be just, but I mean, how can it be? How can God be merciful if He's going to torture you with infinite hell, which you
correct.
cannot deserve? You cannot deserve. I haven't seen any. I actually, that was a big problem back when I was a Muslim. It didn't make sense, and I tried to find an answer. I mean, how they justify it, and they didn't seem to. An example, they would say, "Well, God works in mysterious ways. God knows why is this
God
and why
can
is that."
do Allah can do whatever he wants. So
But
Yeah,
that's the thing. In the second surah of this, well, of the Quran, it gives a description of how, and it repeats this several times since then, where God controls absolutely everything, including whether you believe. God decides whether you believe.
yes. There is also
The reason I don't believe is because God closed my ears.
There is also a hadith where Muhammad said that uh, before the birth of man there is angel, and he comes up with he writes several things, and some of these things is determination. Everything is determined, and even Muhammad said that man can believe and can pray 70 years, and if it is determined for him, he will die as unbeliever, and he will go to hellfire.
And God decides this. God
Yeah.
closed my
he
ears. And
decided it the day he created the universe.
Yeah,
yeah,
By
God,
the way.
God already. I mean, it couldn't be a problem if it said that God knew everything already, what is going to happen, but it says God determined everything already. So it is a pretty big problem, I would say.
Yeah. So, yeah, 15 actually describes the throne of God.
رب العرش.
Yes.
I have a question on well, 16. He does whatever he will. 17. Have you not heard the stories of the forces of Pharaoh and Thamud? Now, Thamud is the same Thamud that we were just talking about before, even
Yes.
though it's
Thamud
spelled
is the
differently.
same, and Pharaoh is the story of Pharaoh, which
And
we
Moses.
are familiar with.
Okay, so why is Thamud spelled differently now?
No, it's not smelled differently. It's the same Thamud.
It has one M. I thought it had two M's before, but anyway, I guess it doesn't matter.
No, it's Wathamud. Wathamud. No, it's the
It's the
same
same.
Thamud. Yeah, in Arabic it's the same.
Okay, so
Oh.
verse 21 and 22, why they're split, I don't know. This is a truly glorious Quran on a preserved tablet. Yep.
The Quran has to be glorious, obviously. I mean, if it's not, then blah. And I think 22 is significant because it alludes to the fact that Quran is immutable and is preserved by God as is. And we will see this come to bite us later when why did they leave the abrogated verses in the Quran even though they're abrogated? And the result is because of this verse, they can't change a word in the Quran.
By the way, I would like to mention something about verse 16, where it says, the glorious Lord of the throne. Aaron, does Bible mention a throne of God?
Yes.
I think that they really believe that God is like a dude with, like, he had hands and
Oh yeah,
arms and
there's
face.
a place in the Bible where it says that, God says in one place that no man may see him and live, but then there's another place where 72 different people get to look upon God all at once.
Yeah, in the Quran you can hear
yeah.
you can
And
hear
as
his
Kent Hovind,
throne creaking because
as
his
Kent
ass
Hovind
is
says,
heavy.
as Kent Hovind says, there are no contradictions in Bible. So that's probably not contradiction. I mean, you got that wrong.
Yeah, so God says no man can see me and live. God is just spirit. He's just spirit, but he walks, he talks, he eats. He has to hold up his hand and turn his head and show his backside, which means he has a hand and a head and a backside. But we're not talking about the Bible today.
And he has a good gaming chair.
We could get into where God sat down and ate with Abraham, and Abraham looked God in the face and recognized him and said, "Oh, hi, God," because God is knocking on Abraham's door along with two of his angels beside him, and then the two angels leave, and then leave God there. And the Bible says there were three men that showed up at the door. Two of them left, and they became the angels in Sodom. So obviously there's a physical personage of God knocking on the damn door. But the Christians just never accept that happened. That he can't be physically there, even though it says that they're sitting under a tree and eating together.
I think that also in Bible it says that Jacob, I think, was wrestling with God.
Oh yeah.
Yep, 'tis true.
And God was cheating apparently.
Yeah, but like I said, we're not talking about the Bible today.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys are teaching
Sorry
me the
for
Quran today.
I just wondered, does the Bible mention
Yes.
throne of God?
Yes.
I was just wondering.
Yeah,
Throne is funny.
yes, quite all right. Quite all right. Yeah.
What's the next? 95.
The fig.
Astin.
Yeah.
And now we are swearing by the fig, by the olive.
We have God swearing again.
Yeah,
by
it's
the fig,
swearing
by the
again.
olive.
It's a good mechanism to be able to detect this because it's quite often Quranic language. God swears by stuff he created.
Also, I would like to mention.
Why is he bringing all this stuff in here? Well, he's swearing by them.
Scholars have said that these are actually somewhat symbolic. An example, by the fig and by the olive, it's talking about Jesus. Symbolic for Jesus. By Mount Sinai, it's symbolic for Moses. By this safe town, Mecca, it's about Muhammad. Like three most important prophets in history of prophecy.
In this case, I find that explanation acceptable. I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Now, when you swear by something, what does that mean? Does that mean that if you're wrong, then the thing gets destroyed? I mean, what does it mean to swear by
Then,
something?
well, just like you swear on the Bible to tell the truth in court and then you don't.
Well,
Yeah.
that is on the thought that I'm supposed to be scared of the Bible,
Well,
and that if I lie, then something about the Bible or God is going to come after me. What is God swearing by?
Well,
olives.
well, he. I mean, he's swearing that he created man. An example, could he just say, "I created man"? Why to swear by his creation? It does not make that much sense
Yeah,
either.
It does
I
seem
guess.
to do it pretty consistently, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess I'm just not going to be able to get my head around that. So we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so except for we will
Verse
we will
3.
burn everybody that doesn't believe, except for those who believe and do good deeds. They will have an unfailing reward.
Yeah, but verse 3 is the one that was worth the note here. Is it actually says, and this safe city. And people interpret that as this is Mecca, but it doesn't say it.
Yes, it doesn't. It says safe city.
It just says this is the safe city. It could be Chicago for all you care. I mean, it could be anything, right? It could be Detroit.
Well, it does mention everything, a number of things that were going on at that time that nobody even remembers now. Like who were the trench diggers, for example, in the previous surah.
Yes, but he's going to explain that in more detail later.
Okay.
That's why we're leaving it that there. The trench diggers were bad, but then we're going to know what exactly they did later.
Yeah, and my favorite verse in this, why it's connected to verse 7, I don't know, because it's a very different thought. After this, what makes you deny the judgment?
Yes, as if he presented the evidence.
Well, he presented the evidence, but he also predetermined that you will deny the judgment because that is written.
So the evidence of the judgment is olives.
Is that God created us?
I mean, it's olives. I mean,
okay.
Come on. What more could there be?
Yeah, this is just degrading. Now we're going to get to the last surah for the day, unless you have any other notes.
You also didn't know, you weren't sure about Quraysh, what it means. It's a tribe. It's Muhammad's tribe.
Okay.
Yeah. So Quraysh is the tribe that is assumed to have lived in Mecca and around Mecca. Muhammad's father, who died, was a leader of this tribe. His uncle, who took care of him, was also a leader of this tribe. So he was like not a nobody in the tribe, but when your parent dies on those days, you're in bad ways, regardless of whether your father was a leader of your tribe or not. I'm using the specific word of leader of the tribe is not one. There's a whole bunch of leaders for this tribe. And there are different houses and there are different factions in this tribe. Quraysh's business, apart from being in Mecca and running the Kaaba as a very good, lucrative religious business, people come from around the area to pray for the gods that are placed in the Kaaba at that time. So this just gives you a historic milieu of what's going on there. They make a lot of money doing these pilgrimages in Mecca.
Even today.
Even today.
They make billions.
The other business of Quraysh, which Muhammad took part in for 20 years when he married Khadija, the rich businesswoman, so much for businesswomen and women not having inheritance before Islam. Khadija's husband was the businessman and he died and she inherited his wealth and his business. And now she married Muhammad to carry on the business because women didn't like to go out and do hard work on those days. So Muhammad did her business for 20 years, traveling north and south, because that was the business. They bought stuff from the south, they took it up north to the Jerusalem and then bought stuff from the Romans through Jerusalem and then sold it down all the way down to Ethiopia. Actually, they crossed the sea. And that was the business he's doing, right? That made him quite well versed on the geography of the area, because if he wasn't, we wouldn't hear about him today. There are a couple of problems with Quraysh as a tribe. After the story of Muhammad falls and he basically dies and Islam carries on, there is no mention of them. You would think that a tribe that big and powerful would be mentioned today, and there is no trace of them. So that can come up as a point of argument from time to time as to where is Quraysh today.
Well, it seems that there are a number of things that are mentioned that in the Quran that were subsequently forgotten.
Yes, but forgotten is one thing. Today, there is no tribe that you can name in Saudi Arabia that calls itself Quraysh.
Yeah.
And that is super weird. Because if Muhammad belonged to their tribe, they will be proud as hell everywhere. Okay? They would be like shouting their tribal names off the mountaintop. And they don't. Where is Quraysh today?
It's a good question.
It's a very good question. The one answer that I got from a Saudi guy once I was debating him on this subject was that, well, there are people who call this and this Qurashi, and that's what's Quraysh. Well, anyone can have a surname of Quraysh. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, I live in Texas, and we had a guy down in Waco, and he was Quraysh.
Yeah, and he's got right.
Maybe.
Right. And he was quite Waco, wasn't he?
Yes, it was completely appropriate. All right.
So it's interesting that the Quran spends the time to name Quraysh here, and we try to dig them up today and we can't find them.
All right, so I want to throw out a mention, because this show was live, and if you didn't see it live, if you're watching it on video, if you wanted to be involved in these type of hangouts, just notify me. There's ways to get through to me, and I'll get you on the list, because there was a handful of people that I have on my list that I send out every time I do these things, and we don't get everybody that they say once that they might want to be involved, but haven't been or haven't responded yet. Whatever. I keep sending out the invitations. If you'd like to be on that list of invitations, let me know if you want to do the next one. I don't know when we're going to do the next one, because 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be in London, and I'm not sure if I have time. Bogey, how do you feel about doing another one of these before I book out of here, like in a week or so?
I'm game.
Okay. All right. Well, then I will try to get one more of these out before I traipse off to Europe. And again, I want to thank you, Saeed. Thank you very much for being on.
No
and
you're welcome.
I enjoy having your perspective on this. Bogey, thank you very much for the notes and the research that you do. You guys are both being very, very helpful for my understanding. And if anybody has anything else to say it now, because I'm going to hit the button and destroy everything. Nobody has anything to say.
No.
All right, then I'm going to hit the button to destroy everything. Goodbye.